I can't believe she did this. Today on The Combat Perspective. Thanks for joining me today on The Combat Perspective. Today I have my beautiful wife, Brooke Bailey, with me. I'm going to be bringing her on a few of these videos. So today I want to talk about something, and a quick disclaimer, she has no idea what we're going to talk about. It's one of the things that I just can't believe she did this. And in her defense, she didn't know any better, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So what we're going to talk about is when you picked me up from R&R.
Oh, man.
Do you remember?
I remember.
All right, so backstory. I'm in Ramadi. I was in Ramadi for, got to Kuwait in, I think, June. R&R was April, right, of the next year.
2007.
Yeah, so like 10 months over there, and then I'm coming back home. So at the time, Brooke was my girlfriend, even though we knew eventually we would be married, but we were not technically engaged yet. And so I had my dates for R&R, excited to come home. I was flying to visit my parents for a few days before coming to see you in Wisconsin. My parents lived in Georgia at the time. And so I'll tell my part of the story first, and then I'll let you jump in. And so Ramadi was obviously terrible. I think I told Brooke that it was pretty bad. I'm not too sure how much information I told her at the time.
At that point, you didn't really share much.
Yeah, I remember it the other way. But once I flew into... Did I fly into Milwaukee?
Yeah.
Okay, once I flew into Milwaukee, Brooke picked me up. We obviously hugged, kissed, went to our car, blah, 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 blah. And that's where the story starts. Go ahead.
So I think what you're referring to or wanting me to dish out is the song, I think it's Tim McGraw, if you're reading this.
Yeah, that'd be the one.
That's when that song came out, that year. And
in context, what's that song about again?
somebody who doesn't make it home from war.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, so the song I think has like four verses, letters, yeah. Right? So like it's from different people's perspective.
It's like from the soldier, like to...
right, to the family.
Yeah.
Yeah, either
like
mom or dad or or
his
wife
or significant other.
Yeah. Okay.
From my perspective, again, like what he said earlier, it was ignorance, being naive, what have you. I was 20 years old.
But let's, it turned on in the radio. It's not like you had a CD player or anything. It on the radio station, it turned on, and you cranked it up, and you're like,
I said,
have you heard this song?
Have you heard it? This is really good.
Yeah, and you start belting it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because that got you right in the feels. It still does. It still gets you right in the feels.
Different ways.
But I did not even understand anything about really anything, let alone, war or military life or any of that. At that point, I really hadn't had anything substantial happen in my life. I very much lived in a bubble. The worst thing that ever happened to me was, the white chocolate went out at Starbucks and I could only get a dark chocolate mocha. Like, that was like the extent of my trauma, if you say. So yeah, that was definitely my first insensitive moment.
So you sang the song, but what struck you? Like, what made you realize, like, oh, that's probably a bad idea?
Oh, being that you're like sitting there quiet with your head down. I don't think you were crying. You say you were. I think that's your exaggeration. Your Bailey exaggeration.
Yeah, it may be exaggerated.
I've only seen you cry once ever. But
is that when our dog died?
This when Charlie died.
Yeah.
Charlie.
Man.
Oh.
A dog does me in.
He was a good dog.
He was a good dog. It's just funny that that's what triggered it. Anyway, but
So yeah, I kind of knew that was a poor choice at that point.
yeah, but I mean, did it, and we'll talk about when I went back, because right when I got back, we had a very large engagement that you heard on the radio, Battle for Donkey Island. But at what point did it even register during R&R, like what was going on? Did I even talk that much about it?
You didn't.
No.
You didn't really open up, and I think that's why going into deployment 2, like before that, we had the discussion. Actually, I think it was after R&R, after Battle of Donkey Island, we had the discussion like, you don't keep it from me, like good, bad, ugly.
Yeah. Well, I think probably the third deployment is when I started telling you most things.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, definitely caught me off guard with you doing that. And I do remember.
You still married me.
Yeah, I still married you. I do remember one time, and I don't know if it was before R&R or after R&R, but we would talk. You didn't really know what comms blackout was, but if you did during that deployment, even
I
if
think
we
you
were
explained it to me on
yeah,
R&R.
if we were married and you were in Germany, I mean, heck, you would probably had a mental breakdown.
Probably.
With all the people that we lost. But so I only talked to you. I tried to talk to you every day, but obviously if I couldn't, you knew something was going on. But where was I going with this? But there was a day that, and I want to say it was before R&R, that we lost a few people. Pretty big firefight. Comms blackout was lifted. I called you. Comms blackout was actually lifted that day, so the people that were killed must have been in Germany because they got notified right away. And you were like venting about stuff then, and I'm like, and I don't remember the conversation exactly, but I'm like, you don't even know what I went through or something like that. I'm pretty sure you threw out that like, well, excuse me, you're the one who signed up for war, blah 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 blah. Maybe.
I don't remember that conversation.
Yeah.
But
It happened.
I'm sure it did.
All right. So R&R was good though.
It was
Spent a few days in Wisconsin. Then you surprised me and came back to Georgia.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, stayed with my parents. That must have been so going from Ramadi, humid, hot, 120 something degrees, to Georgia like 95, high humidity. I was wearing hoodies.
Yeah.
Remember that in June, July,
Yeah.
whatever it was, just because like.
Well, it was April, but
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
April. Yeah, I was wearing hoodies in like 80-degree weather just because I was
yeah,
cold.
and it was nice in Wisconsin at that time, but evenings were chilly.
Nice for you, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big shock. But okay, so that's R&R's done. So one thing that really, really changed me, and I tell people this a lot, that I always tell people are always like, how could you be in the military and have a personal life too? And I tell people you need to have a split personality. And so the split personality really is you have your family life mentality and you try to have that fine line of, okay, with my family and then military, especially in war. So I remember when we dropped you off at Atlanta Airport for you to fly back, like that switch mentally flipped. Because I had one more day with my parents until I flew out back to Kuwait, then Iraq. And I remember dropping you off, saying goodbye, and then watching you go to the gate, and then turning around and just mentally clicked. It's like, okay, now I have to start focusing. I'm going back. And at that time, I don't know if we knew we were extended yet, or
We didn't know until June.
because we were already packing our Connex to go home, and then we got our orders extended in Iraq.
I was
So
expecting to see you, I think, in July,
yeah, probably. And I got back in December.
November.
I got back in November. I came to Wisconsin in December. Yeah, I think Thanksgiving Day, because I think we got back Thanksgiving and we deployed exactly 1 year to the day on Thanksgiving Day. Yeah. So I remember that flipping the switch, and then the hard part too is the next day in Atlanta Airport, a few of the people in our company were flying back from. We met at Atlanta, and we were getting ready to fly back to Kuwait. And little did we know, one of our trucks a few days after I flew out, got hit by an IED, and 3 of our guys were injured, and one of my friends and a good squad leader lost his legs. Right,
and they didn't tell you until you got
no,
back.
so they didn't want to ruin R&R for us. They didn't let us know, and then someone in a sister platoon, the scout platoon, is like, "Hey, man, did you hear about so and so?" I'm like, "No, what's going on?" He's like, "Oh no, he lost his legs. He died 3 times, and they don't know if he's gonna make it." And then I was like, "Oh man, like, geez, like." At that point, we were doing pretty good. We were pretty lucky. Okay, so get back. I have about 3 days. I think it was about 3 days. After getting back, we had the Battle for Donkey Island. So Battle for Donkey Island, I'll do another podcast video on just that, and it'll probably be a multi-day. It was a 72-hour firefight. We had 11 U.S. wounded, 2 casualties, and then we took out 72 insurgents within 3-day firefight, and a lot went into that battle. But I was out there for quite a bit of it, and then as soon as comms blackout got lifted, I called Brooke to check in with her because it's been a couple days now, and that's when you could take it from there.
So at that time, I was actually working 3rd shift in the States, so it was kind of nice because we were kind of on the same schedule, sleep and awake wise. So like when I was getting home, he was getting off shift, we would be able to chat, and then we'd go to bed and what have you. And so he explained to me earlier, I think it was over when he had R&R, that if he doesn't call me, something happened, but he'll call me as soon as possible. Like, and if I don't hear anything, not hearing anything is good. It's basically what he said. He's like, even if you don't hear from me, if you don't hear anything, it's good. I'm fine. So I knew that. I knew his parents would call me because we were married. So like they would have been next to kin at that point. And I knew that they would have called me. So I didn't hear anything from him. I think it was like by day 2, I was like, okay, at this point I would have heard something from somebody. So he's fine. I just have to wait. And I remember I was on, I don't even remember the name of the road, but I remember driving on this road in Oak Creek, Wisconsin. And he called me, and I just remember like fumbling with like my little flip phone, and I was like, and I had just heard it on the radio.
Yeah, there we go. Get to that part.
I had just heard it on the radio. I don't know how they got it so quickly, but I was like, they would report almost on a daily basis about things in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I never heard anything about Ramadi. It was always Baghdad. It was always Afghanistan. And so when I heard Ramadi, I was like, oh my God, Ramadi. And like I turned up the radio, and they like talked about this firefight. I'm just like getting chills right now just thinking about it. And I was like, okay, but I know he's okay because nobody's gotten a phone call. And then literally as soon as the report ended, he calls me, and I'm like, oh my God, are you okay? Were you in that fight? Did I call it Donkey Island? I don't think they reported it that way.
No,
I was like, were you in that engagement or whatever it was? I just heard about it on the radio.
Yeah, and I was shocked because I'm like, how do you know about this? Like, I literally just, we just got back. The 3-day firefight, the first day, we stumbled on the insurgents and got ambushed. Second day, we ambushed them, and they ambushed us, and that's when we took our 2 fatalities. Then the 3rd day, we just mortared them completely to oblivion. So between the 2nd day and the 3rd day, that's when the people were notified. So when we got back in, we were able to call right away. Yeah. We were out of comms blackout. So yeah, there's only 2 times that people knew stuff that we just went through. Almost before like we did, right? It was like, I don't know how they did it. But,
I mean, well, they had reporters there with you guys, so that was like the start of social media. Like MySpace was a thing, and so communication started to be almost instantaneous at that point in history for like the first time ever. Right. Yeah. But yeah, and that's when you realize that you shouldn't be playing if you're reading this out loud. That's when things kind of got real, when you explained to me kind of what happened, as much as you could at the time. And I even still at that point, I I don't think until you got back and I saw like the pictures and things that you sent really drove it home, of really what you saw on a day in and day out, week after week, month after month.
Yeah. And I told someone, every once in a while people ask me a question about it, and if you have a traumatic experience in your life, a car accident, been if you've ever been in an active shooter situation, right, that traumatizes people, and they a lot of times they never even get over that, or it's always on their mind for years and years and years. We did that weekly. Yeah. To the point where you become accustomed to it. But yeah, so I wanted to bring you on to ask you, like, what the heck were you thinking?
No idea.
Yeah.
Looking back though, you just kind of like shake your head, but
right. We on the second deployment and third deployment, when we had to plan so every time you deploy, you have to plan your funeral just in case you don't make it back, right? And so that song never made it on there.
No.
But what was that one song that made it on there? If I Die Young, that country song?
Yeah.
Yeah. We did throw that one on there though.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
geez.
Once again, thanks for joining me today on the Combat Perspective, and we'll see you next time.
Hey, 25 Henry, return your previous frequency, please.